Meet David Cruz, the visionary owner and CEO of Kingkong Chips, whose ambition knows no bounds. Lucas Tan, the meticulous owner of Unity Build Projects, a beacon of integrity in the world of construction, and the twin brother of Damian Tan, the shadowy figure at the helm of the infamous Inferno Empire, whose power is the currency and loyalty is tested. And Olivia Chu, the heart of David's world, whose love and resilience shine brighter than the city of lights. As their fates intertwine, alliances will be forged, secrets will be unveiled, and the city will bear witness to the journey of love, ambition, and betrayal.
Mr. Tan, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm David Cruz.
Likewise, David. Please call me Lucas. What brings you here today?
David explains his vision for his dream home, expressing his desire for a modern, luxurious design that reflects his success as the owner of Kingkong Chips. Lucas listens attentively, nodding in understanding.
I understand completely, David.
They discuss details of the project, from the layout and design to the timeline and budget. Lucas offers suggestions and ideas to enhance the vision, earning David's trust and confidence.
I have a good feeling about this, Lucas. Let's make it happen.
Before we proceed, David, I'd like to go over with the contract with you. It outlines the scope of work, the project timeline, and the payment terms.
David reads through the contract carefully, nodding in approval at each section. After reviewing the document, he extends his hand to Lucas.
It all looks good to me, Lucas. Let's shake on it.
Excellent, David. I'll start right away on turning your dreams into reality.
Hello? David speaking.
David, it's Lucas. We need to talk.
What's wrong, Lucas?
It's about the payment of the construction of your home. We're several weeks behind schedule, and my team can't continue working without payment.
I'm sorry, Lucas. I've hit some financial setbacks with my business, but I'm working and solving them as quickly as possible. Can we work out the payment plan?
I understand, David, but my team needs to be paid for their work. I'll give you 1 week to come up with the funds. If I don't receive the payment by then, I have no choice but to halt the construction.
Lucas, I know things haven't gone as planned, but please, hear me out. I've been working tirelessly to secure funding for the project, and I'm this close to finalizing a deal with investors. Trust me, by next month, I have the money to pay you in full.
David, I've heard promises before. How do I know that this isn't just another empty assurance?
I understand your concern, Lucas, but I wouldn't be putting everything on the line if I wasn't confident in this deal. We've come too far to let a setback derail us now. Please, give me a chance to make this right.
Alright, David. I'll trust you on this. But remember, time is of the essence. We can't afford any more delays.
Thanks, Lucas. I won't let you down. I promise, I'll do everything in my power to make sure we see this project through to the end.
What do you want from me? Please, let me go. I won't tell anyone about this.
I'm disappointed you didn't come willing, but don't worry. We'll take good care of you until David decides to cooperate.
David? What does he have to do with this?
Everything. And if he knows what's good for him, he'll pay the ransom we're asking for your safe return.
You can't do this! David will never give you what you want!
We'll see about that. In the meantime, make yourself comfortable. We're going to be here for a while.
Hello?
Oh, David, my old friend. I trust you're doing well.
Cut it, Damian. What do you want?
Straight to the point. I like that. Let's talk about Olivia, shall we?
What have you done with her?
Oh, she's safe for now. But that could change if you don't cooperate.
What do you want?
I'm glad you asked. I want 5 million pesos, David. And I want it in cash. Delivered to me by tomorrow.
5 million? Where am I supposed to get that kind of money?
I'm sure you'll figure something out, David. After all, Olivia's life is at stake.
You'll get your money, Damian. But if anything happens to her,
Don't worry, David. I'll make sure Olivia comes back to you in one piece. For the right price, of course.
Lucas, what brings you here? Have a seat.
David, we need to talk. You've been avoiding me for too long.
I know, Lucas, but I've been dealing some personal issues lately.
I understand that, but business is business. You owe me 5 million pesos, David, and I need that money.
I haven't forgotten, Lucas, but I need more time. I promise I'll pay you back.
I've heard promises before, David. What I need is action. I've got bills to pay and workers to compensate. I can't wait any longer.
I'm doing everything I can, Lucas. Just give me a little more time.
I'm sorry, David, but time is something we do not have. If you cannot come up with that money soon, I'll have no choice but to take legal actions.
I understand, Lucas. I'll do my best to resolve this as soon as possible.
Despite the mounting pressure and multiple demands for payment from Lucas, David found himself unable to fulfill his financial obligations. As a result, their dispute escalated to the point where legal action became inevitable. In the previous hearing, Lucas' party has already submitted and presented all the evidence pertaining to the accusation of David's failure to meet his financial commitments in the construction of his dream house. David's party filed a motion to dismiss on Demurrer to evidence, hence this hearing.
Your Honor, the evidence we've submitted is thorough and compelling. It unequivocally demonstrates David's failure to meet his contractual obligations. We urge the court to deny the motion to dismiss and allow our case to proceed with trial.
Your Honor, while my esteemed colleague may believe their evidence to be conclusive, upon closer examination, it becomes apparent that crucial elements are lacking. The burden of proof lies within the plaintiff, and yet their case falls short of meeting this standard. We move for dismissal on Demurrer to evidence, as the evidence presented fails to substantiate the allegations against my client.
After careful consideration of the arguments presented by both parties and a thorough review of the evidence, this court finds that the motion to dismiss on Demurrer to evidence filed by David's party is denied. The evidence presented by Lucas' party is sufficient to warrant further proceedings in this case. With the motion to dismiss denied, Lucas' team emerges victorious, their case allowed to proceed to the next stage of litigation. As the courtroom empties, both parties prepare to continue the legal battle, knowing that the road ahead will be fraught with challenges and uncertainty.
What is a demurrer to evidence in a civil case?
Section 1, Rule 33 of Rules of Court provides that after the plaintiff has completed the presentation of his evidence, the defendant may move for dismissal on the ground that upon the facts and the law, the plaintiff has shown no right to relief. As illustrated in the case, Lucas has presented his evidence and established his cause of action. He was able to prove his case or his claim by preponderance of evidence. Hence, the judge denied David's motion to dismiss on demurrer to evidence.
Since Lucas had presented sufficient evidence to prove his cause of action, leading to dismissal of the motion, what will happen to David now?
David will now present evidence to prove his defense. That is why, under Section 1, if his motion is denied, he shall have the right to present evidence.
Suppose after Lucas has rested, he has not proven his cause of action, what will happen?
If Lucas failed to prove his claim, David may move to dismiss the complaint on the ground of his insufficiency of evidence, and that is known as the demurrer.
Suppose the trial court agrees with David and his motion is granted. However, Lucas appealed on the appellate court and reversed the decision. What will happen to David?
If the motion is granted, but on appeal, the order of dismissal is reversed, David shall be deemed to have waived the right to present his evidence.
If David may argue, well, the order was reversed, let's go back to RTC and let me present my side. Is that correct?
No. Under Section 1, if your demurrer is granted by the trial court and is reversed on appeal, the defendant loses forever his right to present his evidence. Therefore, the defendant has no right to present his side. That is a tantamount to saying the defendant automatically loses the case. With the prosecution's case concluded, the courtroom stands witness to a compelling narrative of abduction and ransom, with Damian Tan squarely in the spotlight as the accused. The evidence laid bare paints a vivid picture of the crime committed against Olivia Chu.
Having reviewed the evidence presented by the prosecution, this court acknowledged the gravity of the charges brought against the defendant, Damian Tan. The burden now falls upon the defense to rebut the allegations and present its case. Now, for the defense, do you intend to file a demurrer to evidence?
Your Honor, we intend to file a demurrer to evidence on the ground of insufficiency of evidence. While the prosecution has presented a compelling narrative, the evidence provided fails to establish a direct link between my client, Damian Tan, and the alleged crime of kidnapping.
Do you think they'll get away with this?
I hope not, but we have to trust in the legal process.
Furthermore, Your Honor, there are inconsistencies in the prosecution's case that cast doubt on the veracity of their claims. We request the court to dismiss the charges against Damian Tan for lack of sufficient evidence.
Thank you, counsel. The court will take the defense motion under advisement. We will reconvene to hear further arguments before rendering a decision.
What is a demurrer to evidence in a criminal case?
Section 23, Rule 119 of the Rules of Court states that after the prosecution rests its case, the court may dismiss the action on the ground of insufficiency of evidence. Upon demurrer to evidence filed by the accused with or without leave of court.
What is a leave of court?
It is when a judge gives permission to do something that is not part of the usual legal process.
Suppose Damian's demurrer to evidence is granted, what will happen?
You will be acquitted.
If the demurrer to evidence is granted, can Olivia file for an appeal?
No, she can't. There is no more appeal by the prosecution because the accused has already been acquitted. Otherwise, there will be a case of double jeopardy.
Suppose Damian filed prior leave of court and their demurrer to evidence is denied, what will happen?
Damian may adduce evidence on his defense. In other words, he is allowed to present evidence to prove his defense.
If Damian's demurrer to evidence is filed without leave of court, what will happen?
Damian waives his right to present evidence and submits the case for judgment on the basis of the evidence of the prosecution. It is practically equivalent to a waiver of his right to present evidence. So, it all goes down now to the evidence of the prosecution, whether it is sufficient or not. If it is sufficient to convict the accused beyond reasonable doubt, conviction follows. If not, demurrer will be granted and acquittal follows.
So now, let's summarize the distinction between demurrer to evidence in civil cases as opposed to that in criminal cases. As to the timing, for civil cases, filed after the plaintiff presents all their evidence, and for criminal cases, filed after the prosecution presents all their evidence. As to the outcome, when granted, civil cases, the case is dismissed. The plaintiff can appeal. If the appellate court reverses the order of the dismissal, the defendant loses his right to present his evidence. And for the criminal cases, the accused is acquitted, and the decision cannot be appealed by the plaintiff due to double jeopardy. So the outcome when denied, for civil cases, the defendant presents evidence to prove his defense since he does not waive his right to present. For criminal case, the accused waived his right to present his evidence if he had no prior leave of court. As to the standard of review, for civil cases, the court checks the preponderance to evidence of the plaintiff to support his or her win. For the criminal cases, the court checks if the prosecution's evidence could prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. As to procedure, for civil cases, must be in writing and filed after the plaintiff's rests. The court then decides based on the plaintiff's preponderance of evidence. For criminal cases, can be filed with or without leave of court. If filed with leave of and denied, the accused can still present a defense. If filed without leave and denied, the accused cannot present any more evidence. As the courtroom awaits the judge's decision on the defense motion, tension hangs thick in the air. The fate of Olivia Chu and the pursuit of justice for her kidnapping remain uncertain, teetering on the brink of a pivotal moment in the legal proceedings. I can't wait for this nightmare to be over.
We've come so far, Olivia. We have to believe that justice will prevail. After careful consideration of the arguments presented by both parties, this court finds that the evidence presented by the prosecution is indeed insufficient to establish guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Therefore, demurrer to evidence filed by the defense is granted.